felt drawn to someone you knew deep down was just not good for you? I mean, a pull so strong it feels like gravity, like it's rewriting the rules inside your own body. We're going to talk about that. That confusing, magnetic, and yeah, often painful connection. What is it, really? And why is it so incredibly hard to break?
See, it's this bond that makes absolutely no sense to your friends, and, let's be honest, half the time it doesn't even make sense to you. You feel this intense, magnetic connection to the one person who is also the source of your deepest pain. It feels like an addiction, right? A craving you just can't shake. And the question that just echoes in your mind is, why? Why on earth do I stay?
You know this exact moment. Your phone lights up, it's their name, and boom, there's that jolt of adrenaline, that weird cocktail of dread and hope. You're telling yourself, just ignore it, don't open it, but your thumb has a mind of its own. You open it. It's a modern reflex for a very, very old psychological trap.
Okay, so to really get what this magnetic pull is all about, we have to look under the hood. And first things first, this is not a sign that you're weak. It's not a character flaw. It's actually a predictable and pretty powerful psychological system at play. So let's break that pattern down.
Here's the first thing you have to understand, and it's kind of weird. This bond doesn't get stronger because things are bad all the time. No, it thrives on unpredictability. One minute you're in the middle of this chaotic storm of criticism or anger or just cold silence, and the next, it's perfect, sunlit calm. You feel loved, you feel seen, you feel totally safe, and your brain, well, it clings to that calm for dear life.
And that chaos, it's not as random as it feels. It actually follows this four-step loop. First, the tension builds. You know that feeling like you're walking on eggshells? Then comes the incident, the fight, the blow-up, the cruel words. But right after that comes the reconciliation, the intense apologies, the promises, the affection. That's the honeymoon phase. And then, calm. Things feel okay again, normal even, right up until that tension starts to build all over again.
And that's the real question, isn't it? If the pain is so awful, why do those brief good moments feel so euphoric, so powerful that they seem to wash away all the bad stuff? Well, the answer is actually wired deep inside our brains.
Because this whole cycle, it's not just an emotional roller coaster. It's literally the engine of a powerful psychological addiction. The mechanism behind it is something called intermittent reinforcement, and you already know exactly how this works because it's the same principle that makes a slot machine so addictive. You pull the lever, nothing. You pull it again, nothing. Again, nothing. Then suddenly, ding, 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 jackpot. See, it's the unpredictability of that reward that gets you hooked. You keep pulling the lever because you know a win could be next. In this relationship, the good times, they're the jackpot.
So what happens? You become fixated. You're always chasing that unpredictable reward, that little bit of warmth, that apology, that moment of connection. Your brain gets a dopamine hit not just when you get the reward, but from the sheer anticipation of it. You become conditioned to fly back to that flame, always hoping for its warmth, even when you know it consistently burns you.
Okay, I want you to really let this sink in. This is probably the most important thing to understand. You are not addicted to the abuse. You are addicted to the hope that it will end. The bond isn't forged in the pain itself. It's forged in the unpredictable, intense relief from the pain, when the very person who creates the storm suddenly becomes your shelter.
And living inside this cycle, living with this addiction to maybe this time will be different, well, it comes at a huge cost. It slowly chips away at your very sense of self.
Your world just gets smaller. Your decisions, your emotions, your entire day becomes dependent on their mood. You stop asking yourself, what do I want? And instead, you're constantly asking, what do they need? What can I do to keep the peace, to avoid the storm, to get back to that calm? You literally lose yourself in the process.
So now let's connect all of these dots. We've talked about the cycle, the addiction, the loss of self. Underneath all of it, there is one deep psychological truth that really explains everything.
And here it is, the big aha moment. Being in a trauma bond is not a character flaw. It's not a sign you're weak or that you don't have enough self-love. At its absolute core, it is a primal survival instinct that has gone haywire. Your brain has mistakenly identified the same person as both the source of the danger and the only source of safety. So it clings to them as the key to your very survival.
So what does that mean for getting out? I mean, if you're fighting against a survival instinct, how do you even begin to do that? Let's talk about the path forward.
This is the great paradox, the thing that friends and family just can't wrap their heads around. From the outside, it looks so simple. Just leave. The cage door is wide open. So why does walking out feel like the most impossible thing in the world?
Because leaving doesn't just mean leaving the pain. It also means leaving those moments of intense relief. It means leaving the person that your survival brain has wrongly labeled as your protector. To that deep part of you, the vast, unknown world outside the cage feels way more terrifying than the predictable chaos inside of it. Because for a very long time, that cage felt like the only shelter you had from the storm.
Breaking free from this isn't about one big, dramatic moment of courage. It starts much quieter than that. It begins with an internal shift. It's about recognizing the cycle, seeing the pattern for what it is, and finally understanding that what you feel isn't a flaw, or even just love, but a deep, powerful, and misplaced instinct to survive. The very first step to breaking any chain is simply realizing that you're in one. And the moment you truly see it, that's the moment you finally start to get free.